This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? What's up, Prestige? How you doing?
I'm good. You okay?
All right. Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. Today, we are going to be debriefing our week. So I actually changed the thumbnail about an hour ago because we're going to be debriefing two things. It was Love to Reef, which was the coral show we went to this weekend, Saturday. And also Reef Summit, which is your on brand. You got your TMC mug, I see.
Yeah, I did. I thought this would be an appropriate live stream for it.
Indeed. And Reef Summit, which was the thing that TMC, Tropical Marine Centre, the UK's biggest importer of fishing corals, tropical saltwater fishing corals, they put on an event for influencers on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to be talking about that. We went to the Horniman Museum where Jamie Craggs is spawning corals. It's very cool. So we're going to be talking about that basically. So. And we've both done videos, amazingly.
Yes, yeah. I like how you say amazingly because, and then you're thinking about the fact that I did a video.
Well, you always talk about how you got to be in the right mood to make a video, and I just like at TMC, I just wasn't feeding it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna. I probably said to a million people, I don't know if I'm gonna make a video. People are probably getting fed up with me, like, mate, sod off, go and tell somebody else with.
You did moan a lot.
I know, I was in a funny mood, but anyway. But yeah, so I just couldn't work out how to make a video. I don't do tour videos well at all. I suck at them for whatever reason. So I didn't want to do a tour. I couldn't work out what to do, but I did a top 10. I'd seen so many fish there that were awesome. I was like, let me do a top 10 fish that I've seen there. And there were some amazing fish. But you did a proper tour of the facility, and that was much better. I enjoyed that. Who else was there as well? East Coast Reefer. Yeah. I don't know if I've seen a video from him as yet, but he was there, so he might do a tour video. I don't think there are any other YouTubers there. Oh, Aquatic Elements, who's mostly freshwater, but he did a video as well.
I bet his video was far more professional than mine.
Almost certainly.
He was going around doing filming properly, whereas I was actually disappointed. I thought my video would be better, if I'm honest. I was disappointed because I felt like I didn't have enough time to to fully go do a full video. I focused mainly on the people that were there. So obviously, as you say, East Coast Reef was there. Amy does some stuff from TikTok. Mm-hmm. We had Fish Palace, the Reefers Tom from Reefers Network, and of course, the most importantly, Jamie's Reef was there.
Jamie's Reef, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, East Coast Reef, yes. So I focused on sort of the people that were there, and I absolutely loved it. I know you said you were in the mood for filming, like it was.
I couldn't work out what to do, but you were really you were, because that was, everybody was there. It was like the day we were filming that, when we all got set free, like we did the tour, which was really good, and then we went into the fish room. That was the best part for me and for everybody, and you could see that in your face. Because you were like, you were buzzing, and like in your voice. And East Coast Reefer was like enthusiastic. Jamie was enthusiastic.
I got my mojo back, basicly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, I hadn't put a video out for a couple of months. I'm surprised I was still invited, to be honest.
No.
And I really like. If I would do it again, I would do it much better, if you see what I mean. Plus, the other issue was the lighting in there wasn't really great for filming. Yeah. My camera did not like it, which meant I had to film on a much lower resolution. And so I was very distracted as well. But there is so much more to TMC than I showed. But
let's get straight into that then, because our week in reefing is this basically. And so we'll start with TMC, because that was the first thing we went to, and then we'll move on to Love to Reef, which was on Saturday. So TMC, it was called Reef Summit, and TMC is Tropical Marine Centre. They're the biggest, maybe the biggest importer in Europe of saltwater fishing corals, certainly in the country by a long way. And there, if you buy fish from your local fish shop or a coral, it's probably come from TMC. So fish in particular, probably 90%. I can't remember what the stats are, but they almost all come from TMC. They're really good. And actually, I'm going to start off with member questions straight away because there was only one, and I think that might be a problem with YouTube because present, share screen, entire screen, screen 2, share. I hate this. Is so clunky, this software. There might be a problem with YouTube because I had to copy and paste this. I saw it in on my Facebook page, which I almost never check. So it's lucky I saw it. It's from Chris Harrison, and he said not sure if comments are turned off on the Sunday live stream post on YouTube. So I presume he tried to post here and then he couldn't. So if you've tried to post, if you're a member and you've tried to post here, sorry, I think this has been a problem. I haven't turned anything off, but anyway, whatever. He said, how many brown gobies did you point out to Ryan while at TMC?
None. I was disappointed.
I know. And seriously though, what was your main takeaway from your visit? So let's start with, what was your main takeaway from your visit to TMC, Ryan? Because I've got loads. But
you probably got loads.
Yeah.
There was a couple of things. So is this what you want to start with? Obviously, we started at the Horniman Museum and we had dinner and all, but we want to start on the second day.
Okay, let's wind back. I just wanted to get the member question, but let's wind back to Horniman. Let's go chronological. You're right.
Otherwise, I'll lose train of thought.
Yeah, do that.
So I got up at like 4:30 in the morning. So, actually, we even did something before that, didn't we? We went to a fish shop that I'd never been to before as well.
Yes, good point. Yeah.
Okay, so got up in the morning, went to Jamie's house. I think then Jamie took me to your house, didn't he? Yeah, to pick you up. So we had like a little lad's day out. And Alex said there's a fish shop that is good that we've never been to. And he's mentioned it a few times before. It's Aquatic Emporium, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so we went there first. It's an interesting shop, isn't it?
What do you mean interesting?
It's interesting because it's like, and the owners actually told me this, where like bits of it has been like added as they've gone along. The back of the shop wasn't there originally, but I was impressed by how many corals they had, and the quality and the variety of the corals as well. Let's put it this way: I don't go to many places and think they have almost or more corals than me. In terms of variety, and they absolutely did because they had loads of mushrooms and stuff like that, which I didn't have. But that probably wasn't overly special for you because you go there all the time.
I go there all the time, yeah, because it's good. But you're right, and that they always say. So Stefan said to you, I heard him talking to you, and he always says like our number one priority, or more or less, I'm paraphrasing, is have as many corals as we can. Whenever you go in there, sometimes you go into a local fish shop and it's a little bit empty and like the shelves are half empty because you go on like a day after they've been cleared out or whatever. That will never be your experience at Aquatic Emporium. They got millions of corals, and nice stuff as well. There was something I've just realized I forgot. I meant to get it and I forgot to get it. I'm going to have to go back next weekend.
They need to start wholesaling to me because there's some corals in there that they've got way too much of. Like they've got papaya clove polyps, just like throwing out of everywhere. And I'm like,
how cool does that look? Like a field of clove polyps, like as a display tank.
There were two things that the owner was like genuinely like very friendly. But there were two things that he sort of said that stood out to me. He basically went like, okay, one sec. I've just lost my train of thought. What I was going to say. He said something along the lines of that. Oh, that was it. Firstly, they only buy what is. So they don't have any credit. They don't have any credit with it with people. They said, but what you see is we own this. Basically, the stock we own, the fish we own, everything. Which is a great way to be in this industry. I think that's one of the biggest ways the shops fail because they keep getting more and more credit, and it gets out of hand. Things die, you don't realize,
slave, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the same with me. I don't want any credit with anyone because I'd rather buy and sell what I have. The problem is if something dies, that's a slippery slope when you've got credit because then you try and get more credit to like cover the cost. So I thought that was an interesting way because not all shops are like that. And the other thing he said is we might not be like the tidiest like shop, but that's because we focus on the livestock and keeping everything as healthy as possible. And there's only two of them that work there. It's him and his wife, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, his wife wasn't there when I was there. But yeah, he just said we might not be the tidiest, but that's because we're focusing on what actually matters. And I was like, to be fair, that's a fair point. It doesn't matter. Like people don't come in to some extent to see tidy shelves. They come in to go, have you got healthy livestock?
Yeah.
And
show me a nice gunny I haven't seen before.
Yeah. And that's true. That there were plenty of nice things in there that I hadn't seen before. It was just a shame because obviously we were going away for 2 days. Otherwise, I probably would have taken something. I did have a polybox in the car, but I was just like, oh, it's a bit of a risk.
2 days, yeah.
Yeah, and it really would have been like 2 days, like by the time we got back.
2 full days,
yeah. So that was that.
So we went from there anyway, didn't we?
Yeah, we went from there to the Horniman Museum, and I wasn't really sure what to expect there.
No.
Have you been there before?
No, I've been mean to go, but I haven't, and I don't know that part of London at all.
Well, firstly, if you ever want to go, it's pretty easy to park there, which I was surprised by.
Because we didn't park far away, did we?
Yeah, we didn't park far away, and everyone. There was lots of people that parked in that area, and it was fine. Because normally, if you go to London, and I had thought about going to the Horniman Museum before, but didn't because of that reason. But yeah, so we get there, and then we go into this sort of like room, wasn't it? There's like 30 influencers, and influencers is not a word that we use. That's actually a word that TMC used.
Yeah.
But I will say, every so-called influencer hates being called an influencer.
It was funny because you mentioned that to Amy does some stuff who's TikTok,
and
I wondered if you're on TikTok or whatever, if you see yourself as an influencer, because that to me feels more like that, but she hated it.
The only reason I said it was because earlier in the day she told me that she hated it.
Yeah.
And then when you got a camera in your face, you have to just play along, don't you?
Yeah. Excuse to wind her up, basically.
But yeah, so that was the chance to sort of like mingle and meet. I met some people that I hadn't met before. As I said, I've never met the Tom from Reefers Network. That was one of the people. It's interesting because there was sort of like
this was the room that we were stuck.
Some of these pictures I look so fat in. Not that one. That one's pretty okay. But some of the other pictures on the day, I'm like, when did I get so fat?
Other people's camera angles are never flattering. This camera angle is brilliant for me because I've worked it properly. But in your video, you were showing all these funny camera angles. I was like, oh, mate.
Oh, well, I didn't notice. So maybe we only noticed ourselves. There's a picture of me at dinner, and I'm like, probably. Oh my God, I just need to stop eating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this hobby, when you find people that you get on with, you have something that you have in common, which is it's like a real passion, and like you almost instantly bond over that, don't you? Do you agree?
Do you mean the fishing corals? Yeah.
Yeah. Just the fish and coral. So anyone in this hobby, you meet someone else in this hobby, generally speaking, like firstly, they'll be excited to be your friend because they haven't got any other fish friends. And secondly, it's usually it's genuine. It's like a real,
completely. Yeah.
Like you build a friendship. In fact, some of my closest friends are fish people now. In fact, to some extent, I put those people above my other friends. I was about to say real friends. Dangerous. But so when you get a load of social media people, which they usually have pretty like interesting personalities, would you agree? They're like outgoing to some extent. Other than me, I'm like a social hermit, and it can be real like fun, and there's like a real buzz in the room, isn't there?
It's funny because I actually think a lot of people who have YouTube or whatever are quite introverted, but actually, you get people are like people are bubbly. Or
I'm not sure that's true. I think most of them need ADHD medication.
Well, probably but but they can all turn it on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Look, to be fair, people wouldn't know that I was particularly introverted, other than the fact that I tell people all the time I don't want to leave my house.
Yeah.
But I would be one of the most antisocial people. Not in a bad way, not in a nasty way. I just don't particularly like going out, do I? Alex is like, "Can I come over?" I'm like, "Oh no."
I never even bother saying, "Why don't you come to my house?" I'm wasting my time. I force myself into your place instead.
See, it's weird because I wouldn't ask to come over to your house because you might be doing something, so I wouldn't want to like.
What do you think I'm going to be doing, Ryan?
I don't know. Probably waiting for me to call.
Yeah, just sitting by a phone crying.
So anyway, we're having like a therapy session now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, as I said, we were there was a room about 30 people. There were people from all over the world there, weren't there? There were people from Brazil, Portugal,
Spain,
Germany, America.
Oh yeah.
And then us.
I got to meet one of my heroes.
I know, that was so funny. Quality Marine, wasn't it?
Cynthia from Quality Marine. So I can't remember what she does at Quality Marine. I think she was head of marketing or something. I forget. But I read that Quality Marine. I don't interact with them because I can't buy any of their stuff because they're based in America. They're an American importer or wholesale or something like that. But I follow them on Instagram because the photos they post of fish are just amazing. What I use for Instagram for is not what most people use Instagram for reels these days, don't they? Videos. I still like it for photos, which is what it started as. Yeah. So I'm like this sad, grumpy old man going, "Oh, back in my day," and and so the pages I follow a lot of the time have really good photos. And Quality Marine, their photos they're exceptional. I should have talked to her more actually about that. She sat on a different table there were two people I wanted to sit on a table with that evening. Cynthia asked about that, and Jamie Craggs, and they were both on other tables. But anyway.
I thought you were going, I got to sit next to you, Ryan.
No, we actually we were on a really good table as well. But I wanted to ask her more about those photos. But their photos are just so good. And it turns out she was the one who takes the photos.
I know.
So she passed over to someone else recently. Yeah. And I was like, she said in the last 3 months. And I was like, no, this is not just the last 3 months. This has been for a long time. So so
it's funny because you said to me, if I really want to meet the person who does their photos, and I was like, what are the chances? They must be a big company. What's the chances the one person they're sending is that person? And it was me. I was the one who said to her, Alex, really, someone at your company is Alex's idol. And then she went, it's me. So, but yes.
Anyway, there are people from all over. Yeah,
and you get to meet people that you wouldn't normally mix with. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know East Coast Reefer that well. I've met Fish Pals a few times, but not.
We met East Coast Reefer at Aqua, although you were behind the stand.
I didn't. I think I saw him literally for about 30 seconds across the stand. Whereas, it's just nice to sit down and have a chat. And the other thing I was going to say, if you think that you can bond over fish, when you do what we do, when you're a content creator, there you go, better, and you like fish, you like bond like doubly, don't you?
Yeah.
Because it's like you have two things in common with them. So that was great. And then it was all like a little mingle session, and then we sat down and had some talks, didn't we? And there were two talks. One of them was the first one was with Jamie Craggs. Mm-hmm. I'd heard Jamie Craggs talk, I think 2 or 3 times before. Mm-hmm. So I was a bit hesitant with regards, not hesitant, but I was like, I thought it was going to be like, this is the usual talk, but it wasn't, which was interesting.
Stuff was the same, but it's evolved.
It's moved on as well. Yeah. So that was interesting. I believe TMC filmed the talks, so I'm not going to be able to sit and tell you what he said. Trust me, like about probably 30% of it went in, and 70% of it just went over my head.
On that note, so East Coast Reefer did a live stream on a couple of days ago, and he reported back on the stuff he got from Jamie Craggs. So go back and watch that live stream, because he remembered a lot more than I did, and from the sounds of it, you did as well. So that's a stream worth watching. But sorry, carry on.
And then there was a second person who came after Jamie. I can't remember his name. I think it's
Sam?
Ben.
Peter?
Sam. I think it might be Sam.
Yeah. It was German, wasn't
he? Basically, it's Cy Reef. He's on Instagram, and it's a company in Germany where what they have done is, I'm not sure this is exactly, but they've taken Jamie Craggs' research and put it into practice. They work together, I think. I don't know, they haven't stolen it. Obviously, his research is available for anyone. Like, they
were mates, weren't they?
Yeah. Anyone listening, let's put it this way, anyone listening, you can look up his
the tall guy.
Yeah. You can look up how to breed corals, how to spawn them in captivity. It's not behind a paywall or anything. Yeah. So, and from what we've realized about the museum, basically anyone can do it. Would you agree?
That one of my main takeaways was, and this is probably the wrong word, but it was easy. Because it's not easy. Actually, it's hard work, but it's not like when you think of coral spawning, that sounds like this thing that is impossible to do. And I bet it's only the cleverest people in the world can do it, and only the cleverest people in the world can work out how to do it.
Yeah.
But actually, or people who have a scientific way of approaching things and can understand and unpick it, can work out to do it. But actually doing it I think actually, if you had the right setup, and I loved their setup, their coral spawning lab. I did a video with Jamie Craigs and Nick from TMC where they showed us around. That's on my channel. It's not done very well, which is not surprising, but it's really worth watching because Craigs explains everything. And it's so interesting. It's their spawning section. They've got like a brood spot, a place where you bring corals in as broodstock and sell them, and you spawn them on the other side, and then you grow them out on these V-shaped raceways. The V-shaped raceways, I love them. I want one of these setups. If I had the space, the money, and the time,
me too.
I would buy one of those setups and I would spawn corals.
Part of me wants it just for the coral farm anyway, just because the setup looks like it was really like efficient from the flow point of view with the flow going around. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's worth looking because you're it's like a race. Well, they're raceways. It's like a circular racetrack, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it was interesting to see because what you imagine is going to be there. You imagine that a coral spawning lab is like this cleanest, everything's pristine. Like imagine like a surgeon's like a surgery room,
which is what it looks like when you see these coral spawning labs they sell.
Yes. But the ones they sell. But the original one, he's very open about this. Like the museum basically when you've got this shoe cupboard to work in, and it's like a stairwell, isn't it? And like this tiny cupboard.
There was 30 of us, and they had to split us into groups of 10 because we wouldn't fit. And even when I don't know about you, even with 10 people being in there, I was in the way of people. People were in, you couldn't get to. You can only have 2 or 3 people in one place at the same time. So
basically, like literally, it was enough to fit 2 people to slide past each other as they're walking past. That's how tight what they're working in is. But it was interesting. I would have loved to have filmed that section with Jamie, but there were too many people. Like it literally,
you needed to be one-on-one for that. So
it's there were too many people. It was too noisy. Everyone's getting in everyone else's way. It just wasn't somewhere where you could film. But that's
why I snuck off because even when we went to TMC and did the tour of the V-shaped raceway and all that, there were loads of people. So when I snuck off just to collar both of them, I was like, "Can we just have a chat one-on-one?" And that's what you needed at the Horniman. Because even I missed half of what Jamie Craigs was saying because I was looking at the spawned corals when you were upstairs, probably with other people. And he was talking through stuff. So
at one point, I got stuck between Jamie Craigs and Cy Reef, and it was literally me, just the only person in between the two of them. And I was just listening to their conversation for probably like 3-5 minutes, and I was just like, I don't understand any of this, and I thought that I knew what I was doing. But
it's funny. So when I found in the times in the past, so if I talk to anybody about like when I was at Aqua interviewing people about like from Red Sea or DD, whoever, they'll explain stuff to me and I can have a back and forth conversation. Yeah, I understand it all fine. And if there's something I don't understand, I can be like, what do you mean? And then get it, no problem. With Jamie Craigs, for a start, he explains everything. So I found there was nothing that I could be like, oh, what about this? He just covers everything. He's really thorough, but also a lot of like half the words I was just like, they're going, I know what it means, but I don't understand it.
They called an Acropora tenuous something because it's got a different name now, doesn't it? And I just didn't know what it was.
Bifaria,
yeah, that was what it was. They called it. They were like, oh yeah,
we've had that on the news before, Ryan.
Oh well,
that's probably where he learned it.
yeah. They were saying, oh yeah, and there's something about spawning Bifaria, and I was like, and then he went to me. Acropora tenuous. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I was fun. He had to dumb it down for me, basically.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting, even they have trouble. So the Cy Reef person has taken what he's done because he's not interested in doing it on a commercial scale. He's interested in like saving the reefs and repopulating them and things like that. Which I get. It's probably very, very rewarding doing that. The other guy has got a grant from, I'm assuming it's the German government. I wonder if the English government will give me a grant to spawn corals.
They gave what's her face? They gave the Horniman Museum a grant, didn't they?
Yeah, that's a museum. That's a bit different.
I know, but still, there was some big numbers. Not saying they're going to give you the money, but
well, I don't think we'd be friends anymore if all of a sudden it came up saying Prestige Reef has stolen your grant.
I know, but still.
But so he's doing it on like a commercial scale, where they are spawning corals in captivity. They're doing acros, which I thought was weird. And I did ask him because acros are like literally 1% of what people want. Most people want like in this hobby I would say it probably is 1%. There's a few people. There's people that try them, but the people that keep them properly is not a huge amount of people. I don't think.
No.
And I said to him, he said, "Well, this is the information we have. So we've started with the ones that we would find easy, and now they're moving on to other things. I believe it was a very brief conversation, but while walking, that I had that conversation with him.
But I wondered about that actually. That was one note I've made is that it's all acros at the moment, and I wondered if that's because I can't remember if I asked him about that. If it's just because it's easy and that's because they worked out how to do it. I don't know, but that is a bit of a shame. And the main thing with this is that this is all 90% of it, probably more, is coral research into things like heat resilience and restoration projects.
Yeah,
probably less than 10. It's probably 1%. I don't know what the number is, but it's not really aimed at the hobby. There is some thought that goes to the hobby, but that's not really what this is all about. They're really keen to protect. Their passion is coral reef restoration, right?
Yeah.
So they don't really think about us as much. They do, just a small portion of their effort goes into it.
Now I am interested in something. Can you do a poll?
Yep.
How many people? I'm not sure how many options can we have on the poll? Can we have 3?
4.
4. Okay. Wild caught, as in like wild corals, fragged corals, and like spawned corals. So obviously, you don't need to put this in the poll. Like the wild corals will be probably it's hard to say. Wild corals.
What's the question? What do people want? Or
if they become available to market, which is it's very likely that they will become available to market, is that going to change? Is that going to be a selling point for you? Is a spawned coral to you better than a fragged coral or a wild coral? So which ones would you want the most? And remember, they're going to be, with regards to expense, they're probably going to be wild cheapest, I would say, then fragged. It's hard to say, but
spawned would be most expensive. Whatever.
Let's go straight. Spawn's going to be the expensive one.
Yeah.
Wild obviously has its negative side, or frags are usually ones that have been in captivity for a while. And then when we're talking with frags, we're talking like multiple generations. We're not talking a wild one that's just been fragged. So, do you see what I mean? There's So which one are you likely to buy going forward, knowing that there will be probably a significant cost attached? It'd be like tank-bred fish.
At first, it'll come down in time, but it's not going to be quick, I don't think. So far, wild collected 0%. This is 19 votes, so it's not exactly
okay.
And this is people who are tuning into a stream about spawned corals. So But so far, nobody wants wild collected, which I'm kind of on board. I've got no problem with wild collected fish. I actually think that's a good thing. As in, when I say no problem buying them. I don't like buying wild collected corals so much though. And if I've got the choice of buying fragged or captive spawned, I would do. And that's reflected in the because this is particularly with SPS corals. I don't think I ever had an aquapora that I bought wild collected that survived long term.
Yeah,
I might be had 1 or 2, but
I mean they were all wild at one point.
yeah. But like when they come straight from the ocean, just my success rate with wild aquos is terrible, whereas my success rate with fragged aquos is pretty solid.
It was probably your impossibly high or incredibly high phosphates.
Phosphate, yeah.
That's probably
that
what
really
did it.
was. That really was. Yeah, that was a problem. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Yeah. So that's I've posted it and we'll start.
I'll be interested to see what that poll does. But we should almost do another poll in like 5 minutes to go. Would you still buy them if they were 3 times the cost of the fragged ones?
3 times might be optimistic.
What, optimistic as in like they're more likely to be more than that?
So I can't remember. Jamie Craig's talked about that. I can't remember what number he put on it, but it was like, from what my takeaway was, it's going to be 10 times the price.
Yeah, but see, I thought that's what I heard, but I think that I don't know if that was just a number that was just picked out and just said.
It wasn't. This wasn't. No one's worked out and done prices.
So that's why I went based on 3 times the price. Now the reason I've said that is because aquaculture scollies are, I know they're smaller, but they're still the same price as they used to be, aren't they?
Yeah. That's a proper normal scolly would have been 300 quid ish.
Yeah,
War
for a
paint
big one.
or bleeding apple, give or take. And the current ones, and they're roughly the same. You're right.
So
But
now
they're not spawned.
no, that's true. That was actually something I found really interesting as well, because they are obviously fragged scollies. But for something to be considered aquaculture, you can't just get a scolly and then frag it into 4 pieces and then go, right, they're aquaculture now. You have to frag them into 4 pieces and then wait 2 years and then or however long it takes, and then frag them again. Which is, and then once those are healed, they are then considered aquaculture scollies.
Well, that was the other thing, that one of my other notes from this thing from the Horniman Museum was that I can't remember if I specifically asked him or if he told us all, but coral spawned corals, selling spawned corals, because I think I was asking about these scollies and I think this was in Australia. Again, I can't remember exactly, but in Australia, if I'm right, then
there are no facts here.
There are no facts here, and I'm wrong 90% of the time. Spawned corals. If you spawn a coral, that's the new baby that you spawn in captivity and grow yourself is considered a wild coral. It's only considered captive spawned when you grow that one out, you spawn that, and then you sell the second generation.
Yeah,
which is crazy, but it kind of makes sense, but it just seems a bit over the top. But
it'd be interesting. I know with acros you get like literally thousands and thousands of like baby acros when you spawn them. I wonder if it's the same with because I don't know why I feel because obviously an acro has like thousands of mouths, and that's where the eggs come from, isn't it? They come out of the polyps, don't they? Whereas a scolly is just one polyp. So do they have an equal number of eggs and sperm, or do they have a non-equal? I'm assuming they don't have. It's not equal, but I don't know. So
I would like, because I was thinking if I was going to do that, I would be like, right, I'm going to get you tracky babies, get you scully babies, I'm going to get you acantophilia babies. The thing I asked about was if you've got, because they did talk about spawning LPS, and he talked about spawning scullies in particular, and I said, look, if I give you a master grade scully, will you then, if that spawns, are the babies master grade? Or if I give you a red one, will you give me a red one back? And the answer is no, not necessarily. So if you have a bleeding apple scully, that won't necessarily poo out baby bleeding apples, for want of a better word.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it's done, but okay.
That was a phrase Jamie Craig used. So, so you don't necessarily get the same. It's not like this is green, so therefore the baby's green.
It's interesting because the ones that he did spawn were all the same, and they were all the same as the parents. They were like brown ones, weren't they?
Oh, brown, yeah.
Yeah, they were like the most unexciting ones.
But maybe they were just 50 Shades of Beige, and you can't tell because they're just brown.
Yeah,
but,
true. True.
What else have you got? I've got loads of stuff on my. I'm just going to try to go through my list and delete all the stuff we've already talked about.
So have we covered the Horniman Museum?
I think so. Yeah. So coral spawning is relatively easy. I love the coral spawning. Love the V-shape.
Oh, that was the one thing I was going to say. If you wanted to spawn corals, not necessarily raise them, but if you wanted to spawn corals in your tank at home, what's the one thing that you would probably need?
But time? What? I don't know. You tell me.
It's the Neptune Apex.
Yeah.
They use. Now the GHL one probably can do the same.
Maybe, yeah.
And I'm not sure how the lights must be. They're just Ecotech lights, aren't they? They must be on like some sort of special.
I think that I didn't ask him about that. I asked him about the Apex brain. Yeah. He didn't. I didn't ask him enough to say what does that actually control, because they control temperature, of course, and they control the light, the photo period. So they black it out and do it overnight. But I think they also do moon phases with Apex.
Yes, they do. Well. Yes, they do.
I think that's the thing, is that it's not just 12 hours of light. It changes all the time, and like, so it'll start, the lights will come on at 10 one day and 10:30 the next day, or whatever. So I think that's what the Apex does, that they can't do with other things, and they do the temperature as well. But I didn't ask about that. So
basically, if you've got an Apex now, set up to his program, corals will be spawning, you'll be rich.
Exactly. Yeah. There was one other thing actually that we haven't mentioned.
Okay.
That he did talk about, and that was, let me just hide that. In fact, let me just make this bigger so it's a full screen thing. I would accept cookies. That is this.
Oh yes.
This is a Jamie Craig's. Sorry to the. Oh, actually, if you're listening to the podcast, whip out your phone. Not if you're driving, and you can have a look at the picture on Spotify. This is a Jamie Craig's chimera. He calls it a chimera. What would we call that?
Hybrid.
No. There's a word. What is it? When corals bleed into each other? Anyway,
grafted.
Whatever. Grafted. We would call that grafted, but they call it a chimera, which is the proper word. But this is a chimera aquapora, and this is a particularly nice. This isn't the photo he showed us. I just found this online.
Yeah.
But we were all like, oh, that's amazing. But the reason I brought that up is because I went to look for that photo, and the photo I found, and I remember when we were at Coral Freaks, which was before COVID, 6-7 years ago, he showed us the same coral, and I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I looked up that photo, and this photo that I just showed you there is from 2017.
Yeah.
And I asked about the chimeras as well, and said, okay, so why aren't they in the shops? So how can you make them? Well, I can't remember what I asked him, but basically, if you try that 1,000 times, you'll get 3 successes.
Yeah, I know.
And so if you ever did get a Jamie Craig's chimera acro, tenuous or whatever, it's not going to be cheap because you had to throw away 1,000 or spawn 1,000 to get 3. So they would be expensive.
I just wonder if his tank at home is just like this. It's just all corals that no one else has, because they're all these hybrids he's been making. Yeah,
maybe. That was the only other thing, was that I watched one of their videos on their website, on the main Horniman Museum website, and it's a lady there who we didn't see talking about the process and all that, and the tanks behind her were the tanks we saw, and they were ram-packed full of acros that they'd spawned. Whereas when we went, I took videos of a couple of them. It was like 3 or 4 corals. You could count them, basically. There might have even been 2 or 3, there were hardly any, and on that video I saw there were loads. So I don't know if we went at the wrong time of year or whatever.
They might have been doing something different,
probably,
because what was I say? I know they started working on some native species as well, and there was something else as well that we were working on.
That's interesting. This is Brian, I think, from TMC. Chimeras, according to Jamie and others, are different to grafted. Grafted are 2 different colours genetically separated who have merged, but still 2 different corals, whereas a chimera is 1 coral. So a chimera is better in a way. Interesting. Oh yeah, that was it. They'd lost everything, hadn't they? You're right, Steve. You're right. Yeah.
There was one.
Jamie did make one of those chimeras in his kitchen. Sorry.
There was one other thing that I just remembered. It's the whole museum, even their display tank. So the tank's not huge. The aquarium section is not huge, because obviously it's not a public aquarium. It's sort of there's a massive music room and all sorts of like anthropology. Do you remember what that was? He said,
study of humans. I know that.
He said, we're going to take you through the anthropology room, and both of us were like, what's that?
I've heard the word, and I'm sure people have told me what it means before, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
but it's a study of people or humans or whatever.
So.
I probably knew it at school, but
literally their display tank, which contains my corals, contains Prestige Reef corals, by the way.
It does, yeah.
I know. I was quite proud of that. Is just run with AI lights, isn't it? There were like 20 or like 25 AI lights just running this massive display tank.
Yeah,
and they literally just said we could spend £10,000 on a light, or we can just replace one of those if it breaks.
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. But that was the one. And actually, a lot of things they do, I don't think you want to copy what they do. Even Jamie Craig's, I don't think you want to necessarily go, right, I'm going to apply that to my tank, because they're trying to achieve different things to what we are. But one takeaway I did think was that all of the equipment is cheap, or not expensive anyway. Like they had Jecod power heads, all this sort of stuff, and it shows, as we all know anyway, and you and me talk about all the time. It doesn't matter what equipment you buy at all. Like you can buy whatever light you want. Yeah, there are some lights that will make your tank, like I like Kessels because I'm a shimmer pervert and all that sort of stuff. But if I put a 50 quid or 100 quid AliExpress light over that tank, I'd get similar results in terms of the corals. It just wouldn't look as pretty to my eye. So it just doesn't matter what equipment you buy. And they had some nice tanks with nice corals. They run their phosphates higher than me. I can't remember what levels they were, but they were high.
The Reef runs them much lower. So they literally, because I asked him, and he does it right. Yeah, he does it right. Yeah. So that's how you get the success. So I would say that was that. We then went out in the evening, didn't we? not out in the evening. Went back to we had dinner with everyone, which was nice because that's when you really sort of get to know each other, and you can ask all the questions that you can't ask during the talks.
Yeah.
So because so that was good. We were on the table with Brian, weren't we, at TMC, and we also had the Tropic Marin guy,
owner of Tropic Marin, Marcus Vengler.
Yes. So you get to ask all the questions that you just wonder, but never ask.
Oh,
so...
I asked him about why you forced me to ask him about the Tropic Marin's naming convention. You were like, Reef Dork doesn't like the way you name your products. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about why is that. And I'm not going to say the answer, but I did get an answer.
Yeah, and you did get an answer because to some extent he actually agreed with you, didn't he?
Yeah.
So you never know. Maybe going forward, that was a bit of like what's they call research. There's a market research.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the names will all change. So it just says phosphate up from now on, or phosphate down.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, anyway, so that was good. And then obviously the next day we went to TMC, didn't we?
Yeah, we did indeed.
I've done plenty of talking, so would you like to take over from now?
All right, I'm going to start with the member question was, what was your one takeaway? And the one takeaway for me, and I've been there before, so we did there was an influencers event, a creators event a few years ago now. I can't remember what it was, and that was the first time I went. And I've probably said this before, but when they invited me first time round, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to go.
You know, Brian's listening.
I know, but I've told him this before, and I'm being honest. But I was like, oh, I don't know. And my impression previously, from years ago, was I'd never been to TMC. I didn't know anything about them, but for whatever reason, I just thought TMC was just, I just didn't have a good overall impression of it.
1 second, I'll add them to the list.
But for no good reason. That was my impression. When you talk to people, nobody had anything good to say about them, and this isn't
Still
people.
Not sure where you're going with this.
This isn't people who'd been there. It was just the overall impression, and this is part of why they invite people in. Okay. When I went there last time, I came away and I said to Brian at the time, I am absolutely blown away. This place is amazing. I don't know where this has come from, but you need to show more people around because it's amazing. And that's the thing that I took away this time really, was that TMC is way more impressive, hugely impressive than you ever think. So even if you've got a good impression of it, double it. They do things so well. They've said this a few times to me before as well, but animals are number 1, 2, and 3 priority. And there are people who've been there a couple of people who've been there for 40 years, dozens of people who've been there for 10 or 15 years. People stay there a long time, and they're so passionate about the animals. Everyone's really nice and really friendly there. They're all really nice people, but they just love the animals, and they are like, the fish and corals are everything to them. And it's just, they talk about like short supply lines. They're not just bringing fish in and selling them. They showed us around the rooms that they settle the fish in, where they hold them, and all these sorts of things, all their procedures and protocols. They do things properly, and they take the amount of time they must, bearing in mind how many fish they get in, the amount of time they invest per fish. It's not just like, oh, we've got 100 fish in, whack them over there. They're like, they acclimate them all individually, and then they separate them all out. And this, it's really impressive. If you've ever wondered about TMC, the place is amazing. It really is. Incredible.
You don't realize how lucky you were as well, going into the back room. That is not a done thing.
Privilege.
Because I remember at the meal, I can't remember the name. Did you say, I think it was, is it the COO, the guy? Nick
Bridal.
He basically went, we don't let anyone in there normally. And even when you're in there, it's funny because the staff are a bit tense. And I think someone came in saying, are you allowing people to film here? And the guy went, just a little bit. So, but to be fair, you can't film much in there. It's like a red room. I think it probably takes a while for your eyes to adjust to it, and then you'll probably get used to it.
I didn't film anything in there.
But I got a very, very, I didn't know if we were or weren't allowed to film there, but I got a very small clip of it. And you just see all these little, it's actually on my Instagram account. You see all these little flame angels. That's how they acclimate them after it could. Basically, these fish have
been that a bird's eye photo?
I'll
get it up.
As it were. The fish had been in boxes, obviously, for probably 40 hours or less. It'll be probably less than 40 hours, Brian will be able to tell us. He's in the chat. But so they acclimate them slowly to light and to settle them in there before they come out to be sold to the public, which is totally opposite to when a fish shop gets an import and they take them out of the box that night and they put them straight into the tank.
Yeah.
So you see the difference?
They're eased in to reduce the stress. Yeah.
And although it looks like they're like small compartments, they're not in there for very long. No. And the whole point of that is so that there's nothing else. They're not fighting with each other. They're just on their own.
They can just chill and just breathe and be like, okay.
Yeah. So that was that. We got a tour around. We got to see how the other thing. It was every UV bulb, I believe, or every UV unit is made by a couple of people. So it's not
they literally showed us them being made, didn't they? Yeah.
They literally showed us how they made them.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then obviously they showed us the coral spawning systems, which you're probably better at talking because you spoke to Jamie about them.
The best thing to do is go and watch my video on it. It's a 23-minute video. So
you're lazy this life. You're like, just go watch East Coast Reefers live stream. Go watch my video.
Yeah. But it's just brilliant. It's just, but I didn't get any footage of I was terrible with getting footage. Even the fish that I didn't get anywhere near enough footage. We didn't have that much time in the fish room, I think. And I just, but anyway, that V-shaped raceway was wicked. I loved it, and I want you to farm your corals like that because when we say V-shaped raceway, right? What it is, it's a long, thin, like fish tank effectively, but the water goes through a V-shaped, I don't know, tunnel basically.
It's rather than having a flat bottom.
So it's not a flat bottom. It's V-shaped. Yeah, exactly. Which one means that you use less water and so less electricity, all this sort of stuff. But also it means that you can get all the sediment settles at the bottom.
Yeah.
So all you need to do is just blast out or suck out the sediment once a week or twice a week, whatever. That's it. It's clean, really clean, perfect.
Yeah.
And the other thing they can maintain. It's really important when you're settling corals, newly spawned corals, to get the flow right.
Yeah.
I forget the flow rate they talked about. I think it was like 10 centimeters per second or something like that. So they actually measure it properly.
Yeah.
And if you get too much, it rips the coral apart.
Yeah.
And it's too low. It doesn't bring them enough oxygen or whatever. So they need to get the flow right, and that's really easy to control in that setup. They're wicked. They're really good. And the reason I'm saying watch the video is because Jamie will explain it better than I can do. But it's brilliant. I love those. I like, if I was setting up a coral farm today, I'd be using them because I think they're cool.
I even stole one of their ideas, didn't I?
Do
you remember I was standing next to you during the talk, and I went, I need one of those. And then literally the next day, Alex sent me a video going, I've made what you asked for, a 3D printed thing. Now, what it is they have all these tiles. So most frag plugs are round, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that the corals in the farm, if they're there for a while, they grow off the frag plug onto the rack.
It's an inefficient use of space because when you put 4 round frag plugs next to each other, there's a gap in the middle.
Yeah. And I just wonder, why is that a thing?
Like this.
Yeah. So when they spawn corals, they want to capture every possible thing, like all the polyps. Yes. So they give it all the space they can. And I just said to Alex, I need one of those. And literally the next morning, I got a video and Alex going, I've made it for you. So Cephastras might be coming on 3D printed squares now instead, because it will it stops them growing on the rack.
Yeah.
So that was good. Then there was a couple of talks. This is my only thing, Brian, that I will say. I know you're listening. What I will say is that most social media people probably have some sort of neurodivergence, I would say. They're a little bit like fidgety with regards to sitting down. Definitely myself. So I was like, when are we going to see the fish farm? When are we going to see the fish farm? And at first it was like, Ryan, you have to sit down for a while. So that was the only thing that I was... the talks were interesting, but I just think you have to, like, I was thinking ahead, if you see what I mean. I was going,
You're like a kid at Christmas, basically.
Yeah, I was like, please,
no more presents.
I was like that so much that I ate I was the first in the queue for lunch. The pizza was amazing. That was actually a really, really good pizza. And then I ate my pizza really, really quickly. And then me and Jamie, I force fed him as well, so he fished quick. And then me and Jamie snuck into the fish farm before everyone else did. So
do you know what? So I did the same. I went off to grab Jamie Craigs and do my little video, and then I came and joined you afterwards. But even when I came and joined you, people were still out getting pizza. I think they might have been delayed in the queue.
Yeah.
But you and me got to do more filming early because of that. Because there wasn't much time, so we wanted to cram it in, I think.
Yeah, I went to I was like, I said to Jamie, right, we're going in. I don't care. I'm going in now because I want to maximize the time. And even then, I still felt I didn't have enough, if you see what I mean. But I think it's because I was too distracted. I had so many people to talk to and things like that, I was less focused on what was in stock and the fish and things like that. And I was more focused on like how much fun I was having in there.
I found it overwhelming because there was just so much there, and I was like, I can't work out. Where do I start? You know, because it was just, even in terms of the fish. So they'd got in. I asked about some of the fish, and they said we've got some nice fish in because we knew you guys were going to be here.
Yeah.
One of which is the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week we'll come on to.
Yeah.
But before we come on to that, there were other things. So one thing that they showed us that was interesting, I think you were there with me when Brian showed us this, was the price list from 1980s.
Yeah, that's so true.
One of their customers found it basically like 10 years ago or something, and sent in their original, or not their original price, a 45-year-old price list. And it was like an Achilles tang was like £6 or something.
Well, I don't know if that was, but you're right.
It was that kind. It wasn't more than, it was like £5 or £10 or something. It was it was really so cheap. Funny. Yeah.
I actually would have. See, that was when we Brian showed us that literally before we went for the talks, didn't we? I would have literally have sat down and looked through that properly, because just out of interest, that is right up my street basically with regards to what. I would have been interested in that. There was one other thing they had as well. It might have been an old brochure of theirs.
Yes,
but that was interesting. You're right. I'm glad you mentioned that.
And the other thing, I think if they talked about if doing this again next year. And they were saying that they might go abroad, which I think would be brilliant. If you do the same thing again and have the same people, it would just be, there's no point, is there really?
Whoa. I'm already looking forward to next year. I've already I've assigned the slot in my very busy diary.
But if you had, I think, there were different people to a degree. Obviously, you and me. I'm not saying cut people out, but there are more people.
Wait, didn't you complain a minute ago?
No, you misheard. Get more people in, because the more the better, basically, and take us to different places. Would be really cool. But this is I'm working on the I don't have the budget, but but the other thing, the one last thing about TMC I would say is it ruins your local fish shop. Because I went to Reef Keeper Must End this morning. And that's an amazing shop. It's one of the best in the country. Certainly, in my opinion, the best in the south, or well up there. They're brilliant. And I go in there every week. I love the place. But I went in and they had 2 little box fish. And I was like, oh, I'm used to seeing 30 now. Like, and so suddenly, because they don't have literally everything. From a shop that you feel like a shop that has an amazing variety, suddenly you're like, oh, actually, variety's only average.
It's not average
by comparison.
To other fish.
To when because when you can see absolutely everything,
I know,
and dozens of everything,
fish you've never even seen before. I saw there were 2 fish there that day that I'd never seen before, and I've seen loads of
I know one of them. What was the other one?
The other one was that tripod fish.
Oh yeah, I'd seen them before actually. I've seen them in shops.
It's interesting because John at TNT the last time was 5 years ago. I saw
that. I've definitely seen them. I don't know when, but anyway.
But yeah, it was absolutely. As I said, I had a great time, and I would absolutely do it again if I am invited again. And just I might sneak out early during the talks, and I'll film even more for them. So they actually, you might put it in the news. They got. I don't know if it's a secret. I'm assuming it's not, but they got.
No, it's in the news.
Okay, it's in the news. Okay.
We can now move on to Love to Reef.
Yes.
Oh, actually, the poll. I ended the poll. What's most desirable to you, fragged, spawned, or wild collected? Fragged was 67%, 22% was spawned, and 9% wild collected.
Now, I think that is based on the price, because
if I told you the price,
if I hadn't told you the price, I reckon they'd either be equal or higher.
But spawned is the unknown, isn't it? Everyone knows fragged corals are more hard in that. Spawned is like, well, what is that half as good? Is that halfway between fragged and spawned? Because a
Yeah.
coral that's been fragged for 30 years, you know it's solid.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's come out of captivity and it's spawned, so I think that's probably a rough, accurate reflection.
I reckon that they would be hardier. They'd definitely be harder than wild ones, I assume. This is just an assumption. I don't know, do I? But that was when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, well, if they're hardier, which you assume they would be, because the less hardy ones won't survive, then there is a benefit to having them. But if there's a significant price increase, I don't see people having it unless the fragged option's not available. Is my thing, and that's what the poll shows. So,
love to debrief. Love to reef, Ryan. So that was so when we finished at TMC, we then went back home and then came back on Saturday for Love to Reef, which was a UK coral show, 200 people ish, couple tiny bit more maybe, 200 people there, and it was started at 10:30 on Saturday morning and finished at 3. So it was a half day coral event. And it's not on the same scale as Aqua H. So if you're in America and you're thinking, oh, what is this the UK Reefapalooza?
Yeah.
But it's a get together of UK hobbyists it's the second biggest in the country. We don't have these. Yeah. And you've got two choices in the UK. You can go to Aqua H and Love to Reef. That's it. So it's still a big deal. It's not Reefapalooza size, but to us British people, it's a big deal still. So we went to Aqua H, and this time we didn't have time in the morning.
Not Aqua H, Love to Reef.
Sorry, Love to Reef. We didn't have time in the morning to go off and do other things. But we went up together. We convoyed up together, didn't we? I ended up. So I put my big boy pants on. I was whinging like anything about the bike. Oh, I don't know if I want to go and stuff.
Yeah. See, he's been whinging all week.
I know. There's something wrong with me.
You've only had 56 minutes of it. I've had it all week.
Exactly. But anyway, I pulled my finger out and I went on the bike, and so we convoyed up together. I was behind you for the last 10 minutes of the journey. I saw you.
Oh, okay.
And so we got there and had a bit of a look around, had a chat with loads of people. What was your takeaway? What was your impressions of Love to Reef? You went last year, which I didn't go to. I was somewhere else. Yeah,
I think I've been before. Did I go the year before that as well?
I think this is the second year, isn't it? Or maybe it's the third.
No, it's not. It's definitely Paul's in the chat, but it's definitely not the second year. They've definitely done more than that.
Okay.
But yes, it was. Like, I always love going to these places. They're very, very different experiences. Obviously, at the start of the week, we got to meet other people that do what we do, and then when you go to one of these shows, we get different experiences to everyone else. You get to meet the people that follow the channel, or the amount of people that go, oh, I love the live stream. Like no one at the TMC event said they love the live stream. So they're like, we're bored of the live stream. No, the amount of people went, I love the live stream. Like I watch it every week. Or this is the thing that I love when they say it. They go, I love the live stream. I watch it when I'm doing X basically. And it's usually I watch it when I'm doing something boring.
Yeah.
So you're basically going, we love the live stream. It's slightly better than watching.
Marginally better than washing up.
Yeah. It's most people say that they do it while they are testing their water, or they're driving, or they're doing a water change, are the usual things for me. Yeah. And to be fair, when I'm fragging corals or things like that, sometimes I listen to it's Serious Reefs are the people who I listen to, which is kind of like a live stream, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I see why they do it. But yeah, so with regards to it, I knew what to expect because it was pretty much exactly the same as last year. There was a different vendor, which was iReef. iReef wasn't there last year.
Yeah, it was good to meet Andy. He was the guy from
Yes, iReef. We don't really meet anyone from the north, do we?
No, we were saying we're going to do this. We're going to do a tour of the north at some point.
Are you going to be in a better mood?
I don't know.
That's a long old way.
Maybe, but yeah. So I think we'll do a tour of the north at some point, and because the shops that I've got in mind are Finest Aquatics, Kraken Corals, Bursco Aquatics, Abyss, and then Yorkshire Reefs. There's probably more. I'd
like to go to the
Aqua H in Aqua in that's it's not quite the same.
Away.
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, that's there as well. So I'm an uneducated southerner. So if you're a northerner, then tell me what else I'm missing out on. I think there's probably others, but I think those are the main ones, to be fair.
Yeah.
But we're going to do that at some point, and we'll have to go up and stay the night before, and then have a full day doing it because it's quite a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. I've done a few of them. I've been to Kraken. I tried to find the old iReef. Andy used to work at another shop.
iReef as well. Sorry,
Radical Reef was the one that Andy used to.
Yeah. That's it.
I couldn't find it. I was literally outside. It was on an industrial estate. I couldn't find it. I was like, and I gave up. So it doesn't surprise me that they've moved somewhere else. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
But yes, so that it was good. And again, it's just nice to. I actually, one of the best parts was they do a frag swap. I brought home, I think, 22 corals.
Really?
In the end. Yeah. So I swapped some Zoa frags for someone for like one of those expensive chalices. So that it was like literally 2 corals for 17 of them, which were Zoas that sell all the time that I'm getting too low down on with regards to the quantity I have. And then I got a coral from Eco Marines, which was a Dayglow Favites, I believe it was.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I've now just realized is going to be the coral of the week. So there you go, done it on the spot. So yeah, I got Dayglow Favites if you want to bring it up. It is red and yellow. So it's quite difficult for me to find corals these days, which are sort of encrusting that I believe that people will buy that I don't already have. So that's what I look out for. I look for things that are like brightly coloured that people will find exciting, that grow fast and are hardy. Because if I get a brightly coloured acro, it's not the same as if I have a load of those. Because people are more likely to buy those.
I think Favias are going to be the next like Gonny, because people suddenly start getting obsessed with torches and Gonnies and all this sort of stuff. Favias, if they get some more brightly coloured ones, and some brightly coloured ones start popping up, but they're hardy. They grow relatively quickly, so they won't be crazy expensive. Yeah, and they look awesome. Some of them like multicolors. So
there's definitely some encrusting corals. Sophastra, another one which I think are like massivly underrated.
Bizarre Sophastra is nice.
Yeah.
Jingle Bells one's nice.
Yeah, there's literally loads. There's some like crazy coloured ones because they're all two-tone, aren't they? Well, most of them are two-toned. Yeah, but they're all the same. In terms of like their growth pattern is like a Jingle Bells is identical to a Bling Bling, it's just different coloration. So I feel like they're underrated. I'm not sure they're going to become a thing though. I think torches obviously were a thing, and to some extent still are. Not as popular as they used to be. Gonnies are, but these are like real standout corals.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a Favites and a Sophastria and they look similar. If you like to the uneducated person, you'd go,
and they're not as flowy, are they? That's what Gonnies and torches have.
Yeah, true. And Zoas have always been popular because they're the wide range of colorations on them. So yeah, I reckon they'll be coming back around soon.
There were loads of people I met. There's loads of people in the chat as well who I've seen. Dan's Reef was there. Reese was there. I've lost him now. Who else was there? Spiritual Reefer was there. There's loads of people I've seen in the chat earlier on who were there. We met loads of people. Scottish Reefer, he was a really nice guy.
Yes, he was he was at both. He was one of my favourite people that I met.
He was good fun, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Amy does. We lined up some live stream guests as well. So we've got
true.
Amy does some stuff who's absolutely batshit crazy, but great fun. She won't mind me saying that. I don't think she will. Maybe she will. So she's booked in. For the week after another guest. Who I've written down that we got 3 live stream guests. Jamie Craig said he was up for it, but like his diaries. So basically, I don't know when that'll happen. Probably some point in the future.
Charterhouse said they're up for it as well.
Charterhouse definitely, which I need to email them. But I think there was someone else. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was just because we've got Aaron's Aquarium is booked in as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Maybe it's him. But anyway, so we chalked up some guests. Where is he? This guy. Here we go. Norfolk Reefer, Ben. Remember that? Dan. I was like, all right, Dan. And he's like,
yes, I remember you saying that. And I went, oh, that's awkward.
I know, yeah. I was like, because I thought he was Collective Corals, Dan Morris from Collective Corals.
Yeah, I know. That's the one thing. I hope people don't think, and this probably applies to both of us, that we're rude. Yeah, it's like we talk to lots of people, so sometimes even if we've spoken to you before, I'm terrible with remembering people. But that's the thing. People know everything about us, but we know nothing about
Exactly.
them.
Yeah,
It took me like probably 10 times before I even remember Jamie's name. So, and that's probably not that far from the truth.
Yeah, and you often get people. The easiest way I find it is if people are coming up and they're like, "I know you don't know me, but people often come up to you and say, "Oh, all right, mate, how's it going?" Like your mates, and it makes it. I'm like, hang on a second, do I know?
Have
you?
we spoken before?
Yeah, and it's like, have I sold you corals? Because I don't know, and and so I can't work out.
Do I owe you money?
Exactly. Yeah. Have I wronged you? But yeah, and a couple other things then from there. So Les was there actually, and Les was on his bike as well. I wanted to go out and see your 2.0 Les, but I didn't. So I might be up for doing Aqua H on the bike now, actually, if I can stop being a wimp. Which may or may not happen. There are a few other things.
You have to leave your bike in the car park, and we know you don't do that.
It's fine. It's not a problem. It's not a problem, is it? There are a few other things from Love to Reef as well. So Shez Art, who is let me see if I can find her on Instagram. Actually, she does these like the Reef Dork thing I've got behind me. She does those UV paintings. Shez, I think it's Shez CHEZ_art. No, sorry, Shez CHEZART_reef. She was there with all of these stuff. She's getting better and better. That yellow tank, which I think Jamie bought. Yeah, that was amazing. Like the eye is just epic, and all these details here, like the contours, they're so good. There was a flame angel she had there as well. Yeah, they just look so good. They're brilliant. She's always been brilliant, but I felt like this time around, the ones I saw, I was like, they're just out of this world. So
Jamie's her biggest fan. He's got about 8 of them, I think now.
1,000 of her pictures, yeah. But yeah, so
he's genuinely like. So I got to know her a few times over the few meet shows and stuff like that. Just a genuinely really nice person.
Yeah.
And I even said, like, I actually feel bad to some extent because, like, my artwork in my house is like this. Everywhere it's all black and white, and there's no a fish picture wouldn't go anywhere in my house, would it?
Yeah,
it wouldn't fit in. And people go, "I'll put it in the farm," but then it's like it will just get ruined.
The farm is an office, isn't it? Yeah, it's not really.
So it's not the same. But like, I just encourage Jamie to buy them.
They're really good. You do need. So I've got just above this. There's a 3-foot UV light, like a black light above that. If you don't have that, like my original plan was to have it above the tank, but the tank lights don't really make it glow. They do a job, but if you put a UV light above it, let me see if I can turn it off and show you how what it looks like. If you put a UV light above it, it looks really good. Control center. Oh, I've not got bloody Wi-Fi. I'll turn Wi-Fi on. Come on, guys. What's going on?
No good. All the people listening to the podcast are finding this riveting at the moment.
is this still better than doing the dishes? I don't know.
Yeah, washing up here, probably not.
There we go. So you can see the glowing a bit better there.
Oh, that was so worth it. That was so worth
negative,
30 seconds.
But yeah, but they're really good, and she turns up at those the shows, so well worth going along for them. A couple other things that I saw there was the Radion. So they had 3D printed. I think this was Aquaprint. I couldn't find them before the stream. Went looking for them. They had Radion 3D printed. Like, I don't know what they were, but they weren't like the light covers, the light shields that stop light spill. They replaced the actual the black part, all the black parts of the Radion, so you can turn it white. Because apparently Ecotech said, or the guy from the Radion rep, Exodus rep, said that the biggest request they get is, do the Radions come in white? And no, they only come in black. But now you can buy 3D printed covers, so your Radion will now be white instead of black.
I'm assuming the reason people ask that is because the AIs come in white and they're owned by the same company.
Loads of lights do. Kessels even.
Are they?
But some they look better above Reefactory, former reefing company Reefactory. That's in the news as well. They did. Some of their lights are white. I think it might look better above your tank. I've never had white lights. I think, but I don't know. I think sometimes they look better. Well, it's just personal choice, isn't it? But you can do that with Radions now, which was cool.
I think if you're looking at your lights, your fish tank's not good enough.
It's true. But the people were the best part, and it was great fun chatting to lots of people. I didn't get to talk to as many people as I would have liked to.
There was one other coral I picked up. I picked up one of those what are they called? The Holy Grail micromusis, is it?
Yes, yeah.
The
Nice,
polyps on those are really small.
they're
I've never
tiny,
seen them in real life. They were much,
You
much
have.
smaller.
There's one in my tank.
Oh, is there? Oh,
you saw. You wouldn't have noticed it. It's small.
yeah.
But the person that was there that I didn't get to see that I particularly wanted to was pelagic swimmer Rob.
I saw him briefly.
You did. I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was when you were talking to him, but yeah, I wanted to catch up with him. Have a chat. He sounds like an interesting bloke and a nice guy as well. But at the end of the day, it costs 20 quid and you get a free ICP test. So it's free.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I never thought of it like that. But yeah, because you'd pay more than that for an ICP test, wouldn't you? Sometimes.
Yeah. The only thing is, I think,
and you got sweets on entry and a raffle ticket.
Indeed. Yeah. It's very true. So it's actually cost negative.
Yeah, true.
It saves you money.
True.
But there you go. I think that's everything that I had to say about both of them. Anything else? Any residual elements I've missed, Ryan?
Nope. All I would say to people, if you don't go to one of these shows, like if you get the chance, wherever you are in the world, if you get the chance to go to one of these shows, they're well worth it. And even if you think, oh, I'm going to be like on my own and no one's good, like it don't matter. Trust me. I've been to, I suppose it's different for me, but I went to Macta and Reef Palooza on my own loads of times. It was great. So
I went to Coral Freaks before I was famous, just like as a normal plebby person, you know.
Yeah, that was the day when we went, oh, who's this peasant? Come out with us.
Yeah. No, I went to Coral Freaks on my own before anybody knew who I was. Yeah. And that was fine. It was great. You just talk to people, just like naturally, you're just in the queue for whatever. And you overhear someone saying something, and you just turn around and just chat. Everyone wants to talk. So yeah.
That's so true, because like this stream makes it appear that everyone talks to me, but in the other, or they approach us. But I remember being in the queue at the Eco Marines one, going, oh, that's a really nice rock flower. Guy next to me going, oh yeah, I got my eye on that, and I'm like, oh yeah. So and then you start a conversation like that.
Exactly. Yeah, completely.
Or you could be at one of the booths and TMC are like, oh, here's this food or whatever, and then you start talking to the rep about the food, and then the guy next to you is like, oh, I didn't know that, and that is how you that's how you really experience the hobby. When you have other people around you, it's like tenfold better, I would say, because you can share ideas. You have someone called me today. They got in trouble with their tank. One of my friends, he said, look, can I just bounce some ideas off you because I'm having trouble, and I don't know what's wrong. So if you don't have that, it must be a lonely hobby for people sometimes.
Yeah, I guess. But there you go. Go to Love to Reef, or Aqua is the next one.
Or Aqua, yeah.
And make friends.
There you go. And you can buy tickets now for Aqua. So
aquah.co.uk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can now move on to the Prestige Reef. Actually, do you know what? Before we move on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week, I'm going to refresh the member questions to see if anybody has added a member question since we started the live stream. And the reason I'm saying it like this is because I didn't remember to keep the post up. No, it's fine. We're going to move on. So
just delay slightly. I'm just looking up how much this fish costs.
Okay,
one thing, because I genuinely don't know, but it's in like the thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
It's
a lot.
So the fish of the week is a Dr. Zeus fish, or that is a good picture.
Fish.
Did you take that picture?
I did, yeah.
That is a good picture.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I've edited that photo before the live stream.
Either way, it was difficult to see. It was quite a shy fish, wasn't it?
Really shy. And so my video footage he was just being boring, and at the back he looked rubbish. Yeah. But then I went back 10 minutes later and he was swimming around. I got a load of photos. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't see him like that. But yeah, apparently it comes from I'm just an expert. It's about 150 feet down, 45
meters.
45 meters, something like that. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
I thought, so while I was filming that with you, just for content, for reference, basically, Alex in my video, we were talking about this fish, and all of a sudden he became an expert on it. And what I didn't realize, so TMC had put these little notes up with information about the fish, and Alex starts going, oh yeah, I think they come from about 150 feet down, 45 meters, and I was going,
How do you know
hell,
that?
how is
Yeah,
he's like a genius.
yeah,
He
right.
was
You
just
really do
reading
like
off
this fish.
card.
Yeah, it's just it's written right there.
Now these fish are expensive. I don't know how much they cost. There was no price when they were there. But what I do know is that it's not in like the £1,000 range. It's not in. I don't even think it's in like the £4,000 range. I think it's like higher than that. I believe.
Yeah,
but I genuinely don't know. But they are. Maybe someone like I've seen. There's a couple of fish shops in. Maybe they'll know because I think Andy from iReef's in, so he might know what it is, how much they cost. But they're so rarely seen. There's no real price for them, if you see what I mean.
Exactly. Well, $10,000 in the US on this Love to Reef post from, I don't know when it's from anyway. Love to Reef, Reef to Reef.
Yeah.
But this, so it was funny because that fish was you told me about that fish.
Yeah, I know.
In your video, and I didn't know it was there. You're like, have you seen the Dr. Seuss soap? You could see my reaction.
I know.
I was so excited to see it.
That was almost the thumbnail to the video. Alex's face was like this.
yeah. And in my video, I hesitated, but I almost said it was an honor to meet that fish.
It was a cool fish to see.
It was awesome. I love it. It's so cool.
Do you know why it's weird? Because you wouldn't buy it yourself, would you? Because firstly, it looks like it's going to eat everything in your tank. I don't know if it does, but it has that sort of look.
Like it's got a predator look to it. It's probably got quite a big mouth, I think. They also like 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, hey Google, what's 68 degrees Fahrenheit in centigrade? I think it's like 18. Hang on.
68 degrees Fahrenheit
68.
is equivalent to 20 degrees.
20 degrees.
Oh, so that's quite cold then.
It's pretty cold.
Well, that's not quite cold. That's very cold for a marine tank.
Yeah. And also this is, so you said that they can, if they die, you're in trouble because of.
I was told this and I looked into it.
True.
Yeah, they're toxic. Apparently, they're like really toxic, is what I was told. Now, how bad it is, I don't know if it's the same as boxfish, where people go, oh, if a boxfish dies, it wipes your whole tank out.
Well, according to this article, they put up a nasty toxin and nukes the whole tank if it's not removed as quickly as possible.
But that's what they say about boxfish as well. And I've never if it was that bad, fish shops, they wouldn't be worth getting a boxfish in. Like for a fish shop where you might lose everything.
I think it's one of those things that if it happens, it's a problem. It's just very unlikely to happen.
I've lost a boxfish in a fish tank and it hadn't, and I never found the body.
It got chewed up. Oh, I thought it got chewed up by a powerhead. Was that
no? That was so. I actually tried to replace it after, and it didn't do well, and I've never had one since.
Right. Okay.
Because that one I had for years and years and years, and then obviously, I realized that I was just lucky with that one. They're a bit more problematic, aren't they, boxfish?
Yeah, but you couldn't keep this in a reef tank really. It's probably going to eat other stuff. It likes temperatures too. This says a hot soapfish is a dead soapfish. So
it'd be interesting to see where it ends up, because that's I suppose if you're paying that sort of money for a fish, it's probably like a species only tank.
Yeah, well, I asked if they bought that in specifically for an order, and they hadn't. So that hadn't sold yet. So if you want it, go to your local fish shop and say I want a soapfish, and you can get one, because you won't see one of them again.
Let's put it this way, if you want one, now's the time, because it might be like another 7 years before you get another one.
And if you're thinking, oh, I can't really afford 10 grand, I was hoping I'd get one for 7 grand.
Yeah,
just buy it. They also had a Japanese master swallowtail angel, didn't they? Female.
Yes. Well, it looked like it was transitioning between from a female to a male.
Bars on its back,
and they had an Interruptus angels, didn't they? So they had a few pretty special fish there.
Spicy fish,
yeah. The Interruptus.
They didn't even mention that. I just stumbled across them. Yeah, it's the sort of thing I thought they would have said, "Oh, go and look for this," but I think they probably just wanted us to stumble across it. So.
First thing I went in, I spoke to one. I think it was Chris. I spoke to one of the guys there. I went, "Where's the rare stuff? Show me the cool fish." And he's like, "Soapfish? I've only ever seen 3 of them, and I've been here 15 years or something." He's been there.
It's not getting much love in the chat, Ryan. So Les reckons it's a pond fish. Jay's Real Reef reckons it's a cut and shut goldfish with a wrasse. And look, someone else said,
this is like one of those really, really expensive bottles of wine. You have to
ugly and it's got a spotty ass.
You have to you have to have refined taste to appreciate it. So
you're saying you're more sophisticated, Ryan. That's it. You're more discerning.
Well, what we both said, we both went, it's a nice fish and it's a cool thing to see, because you don't see things you don't see all the time. But I'm not going to be getting it to replace the the king eye.
No, even if it was, £1,000, I wouldn't buy it, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
it
was just
would eat the candy basslet. That's what it definitely would eat.
that's true. But it's a really cool fish, and I was just awesome seeing a fish that rare to me. So
yeah,
that's like Peppermint Angel level to me. Yeah. 10K, you could get a new Triumph and that will wheelie. Yeah, it's a very good point.
Great.
We like Master Swallowtail, so what do we know anyway? But all right, that's the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week, and the Prestige Reef. We've done the Coral of the Week as well.
Well, technically, so the Coral of the Week is the Dayglow for Vites, and I kind of gave you a little.
I looked up the Dayglow for Vites, and the photos that I was showing, some of them were. It looks like there's no. Well, some of them were really edited.
Yeah.
Because they're nice, but they're not. Let me bring that back up again. But where I was going with that is that some of them are different names. So there's lots of corals that look similar. So I have a top fuel for Vites that looks similar to this. It's different coral.
See the one with the black background on the top row?
This back. This
top
one?
row.
It's like a million.
No, well, next to that one. That's what it looks like, my one. Yeah.
Fine, okay. But to be fair, a lot of these look polished, but some of these are different corals, but they look fairly similar, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So there are a few that look quite similar. Signature Frags has got a Skittles Favia, I think, that's really nice, and a top fuel for Vites, and a lemon lime, something like that, and they all look reasonably similar. If you have them next to each other in the tank, you can see they're different, but they all look pretty similar, but they're all very nice. But yeah, so that's the one you're talking about, though.
And I plan to grow it out, and then and hopefully soon I'll be able to propagate it and supply everyone else with it.
That Gorgonian, the fluffy Gorgonian that you wanted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you got one of those now?
No, not yet. I can't remember, I don't know the guy's name. You'll know it, but he sent me a message saying, I'll frag one for you, and I'll frag some for you and send it to you. But obviously that takes time, and they're a bit funny sometimes with regards to sticking them down. I think you said in the video, you have to scrape off the flesh. So because otherwise it just comes out the glue.
It's got like a bone type thing in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a thing that you said in your video that Amy said. I'm not going to say. I'm going to remember to mention it afterwards.
Oh, I already know, because you see the look on my face, don't you?
No, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You did spot it. All right.
Yeah.
Fine. In which case,
it's because I don't refer to them as that, so that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on. But that's the reason I ask is because someone, I think so. Oh yeah, someone commented on that video of Chris's tank. Yeah, and they said, "Where can I get one of those? I've been after for ages." And they called it a Tracy Morgan, not Goniopora. What's the word? I said it like 2 seconds ago.
I know. Now it's gone out of my head. I can think of every coral in the tank. Gorgonian.
Gorgonian. Oh.
Yeah.
Tracy. Apparently, it's called a Tracy Morgan Gorgonian, and I googled that and it came up with the same coral. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's now worth 5 times the price because
Yeah.
Who's Tracy Morgan, by the way? Is that an American comedian?
No,
I think it's a bloke, isn't it? Tracy Morgan. Yes. Yeah. It's that guy. Yeah.
It's funny because it's one of those corals that it's not exciting. It's just brown. It's
it's different though. It's
yes,
quite
I know
fluffy, isn't it?
Most people want something colourful. It's an acquired taste, I would say.
Well, that was so my top 10 TMC video. Like I was well aware that the fish I was looking at were not like a yellow long-nosed butterfly or a cupperband or whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't the most spectacular fish. And as I was doing it, I was like, people are going to be looking at this going, what are you talking about? That wrasse, it's boring.
Yeah, you have terrible taste in fish, basically.
Shut up. But someone said in the chat, it's interesting that the longer time you're in the hobby, the more you value rarity and that sort of stuff. And I don't generally think that I do, but actually it looks like I probably do to a little.
That actually goes the other way eventually as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I still like.
At first, you want cheap and easy, then you want slightly more expensive, then you want the extreme super bright stuff. And then eventually you don't give a shit and you just don't care. Because as I said, I have customers that have been in reefing for 30 years. And those people are some of the people I love to see the most because they don't care. They're not interested in the brightest, fanciest gold torch or whatever. They're like, oh, that's a weird looking soft coral. I'll take that. So yeah. Yeah,
indeed. Why is that?
It's not price and rarity. It seems to come down to what's weird. And that's why I think I like some of the weirder things as well.
Yeah. Okay. I've just found the thing I was looking for. Yeah, this is very true. All right. Well, I think that means we should probably move on to the news. And there is, actually, all of the news this week is Reef Dork generated, basically.
Okay.
Because there wasn't anything major on either reef keeping news or reef builders. And actually, we talked to Jeremy Gay about that. He was at the Horniman Museum, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just had lots of stuff on lately, so he's not updated the news so much. I think that I've still noticed quite a lot on that website.
Yeah, it was also interesting what he said, because they used to do like fish, like featured fish and stuff like that. But he literally went, AI is taking over. You can go onto AI. You can literally go, right, give me an article about a yellow tangs.
Yeah.
And he went, it's good, accurate, the grammar's perfect and everything. Like you have to like check it, but he just went, there's almost no point anymore. Like journalism is becoming a more and more difficult. Something along those lines is what he was saying.
And the robots are coming, basically.
Yeah. So that's sort of the first person where I've gone, actually, yeah, like that sort of industry to some extent is like writing for magazines, just not as required anymore.
You're still, it's phasing out.
That was his words, not mine.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, Reefactory. So last week we talked about Reefactory, and there was some people were speculating that this is restructuring and all sort of stuff. And I said at the time, this isn't restructuring. This feels like the start of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But I also said, look, no one really knows. It's too early. Reefactory have since posted an announcement, and they are well and truly buggered, basically. So
is that what they said?
If you were wondering, I don't know, maybe this is they're moving things around or whatever. No, this is basically they're going bust.
Yeah.
And if the two options that are the most likely options to come out of this are Reefactory ceases to exist because it just does it can't pay its debt, so it gets wound up, or they find a buyer. So if someone comes along and buys the goodwill or whatever, buys Reefactory, then it can survive. So a company like Ecotech could come along and say, we want all of their ideas, we want their factory, we want their products, all this sort of stuff, and we're prepared to pay 50 grand for it, for sake of argument.
Yeah.
And then that can carry on, and they can take over it, and then Reefactory Limited, as it is at the moment, dies. It becomes a new company or whatever. So that can happen with a buyout. But if that doesn't happen, and if Ecotech say, or I don't know if anyone's actually sniffing around, I don't know who the companies are.
Ecotech are going, not
whoever, let's say for the sake of argument, because they're the big name. If Ecotech and Red Sea were sniffing around, saying we quite like some of this stuff, then it might live on. But if that doesn't happen, and Ecotech and Red Sea say, actually, we don't like this, it's too messy or whatever, we're not interested, then it's going to fold and it's not going to exist anymore. That doesn't mean that you should start throwing away all of your Reefactory equipment immediately.
Okay, yeah.
Because they talked a little bit. There was an update on continuity of infrastructure operation, as they put it, which is the servers basically, and they are going to carry on. It says they're fully covered by our distribution partners, and Yarek, who was a key technical specialist, they describe him as, will continue to oversee all critical maintenance work and updates during this transition period. How long for? I don't know. And this is not. So if no one buys Reefactory, there'll come a point when devices will stop working. It might be years down the line when you just need more updates or whatever. And there are already people talking about hacking into the Wi-Fi port direct. So you might still be able to start working. But basically, if Reefactory ceases to exist and there's no buyer, then there'll come a time when their stuff will be obsolete. It might take years, to be fair, but it's not impossible that it will all disappear completely. The ICP lab, it says the ICP laboratory has been completed, which I think means shut down. It must be shut down.
Yeah, probably.
They're not going to keep running it and paying staff. But they've got lots of spare parts knocking around apparently still. So it's not an absolute disaster. And with a bit of luck, Reefactory will live on. Someone will buy it, because I think it's a real shame that this has happened. I feel really bad for Reefactory, and I think it would be wicked if someone bought them out and maybe backed off. I can't remember who we were talking to. We were talking to someone about this and how just that they've done so much in such a short space of time. It was, in fact, it was one of the other news stories, and product development takes years, whereas Reefactory managed to accelerate it quite quickly. It's just that caught up with them. But they were a really good company. They had problems, but they were a really good company at the core. So I would love it if someone takes over, because there's some good stuff there, and people love that it's not just all like Apex where you have to buy everything. You can buy odds and ends and all this stuff. So you've gone on mute, Ryan.
I wonder if they if there's a lowest price that they could. Do you see what I mean? Because someone go, "Oh, I'll give you $5,000 for it." I know they wouldn't do that, but or do they have to pay millions?
The liquidator has to make that decision, basically. But ultimately, if it, like, the liquidator might say, "Okay, well, we've got £1 million worth of debt.
Yeah.
Ecotech want to pay 50 grand for this.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well have something. So yeah, fine.
Yeah.
This is just going to go in the bin otherwise. So we'll take you 50 grand. You have everything."
Yeah.
And then, that's it. Job done.
Yeah.
And then I'll give that 50 grand to the debtors. So
I wonder if there was
they're probably, to be honest, I don't know. Like I said the other week, I don't really know much about insolvency. I didn't ever get to that stage in any insolvency work I did. So I don't know what the thought process will be with insolvency practitioner, with liquidator. I don't know if someone said, "We'll give you 50 grand. I don't know if they just say, "Forget it. It's just not worth my while. It's too much work," or whatever. There's probably like if it's a quid, probably a no. But there'll be I don't know how it'll work. But basically, it's got to be attractive enough for Red Sea or Ecotech or whoever to buy it. And I really hope that does happen. It would be a shame if it didn't. But to be continued. But basically, the Reefactory is buggered. I'm afraid. Sad news.
Good news. As in, like, sorry, that's not what I meant to say. I was saying you're the bearer of bad news.
Yeah. So yeah. So there we go. 13 years old tires. Honest, just going to interject with some bike talk. So my tires were 6 years old on the bike I bought with 23 miles on it, and they felt awful. Like the bike was shaking its head when you go in corners. And as soon as I changed them, mint. So swap them out. Anyway, he got a flat tire on the way back from Love to Reef, so it's kind of reef related. Next story, and this is all the the stuff that I discovered at the event we went to, basically. And actually you can break this because you wanted to talk about it, didn't you?
I'm not sure what it is you want to talk about. You've not told me. Oh yes, TMC have a new tank. Yes. That was why I let it slip earlier. It's not out yet though, is it? But...
No, it's coming. So it's coming in September-ish, but they don't have a release date yet. But this is the first wave tank that I've got, which is a 48-litre tank, although it's classic. It won't actually hold 48 litres. You knock 20% off that. Same for every tank. But anyway, so it's the first wave 48 is what it's called, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's about 2 feet long. Yeah. And the new one, which is we saw like in their little headquarters thing, is this one. It's 80 centimeters long.
Yeah.
So it's much bigger. I can't remember the tank volume, the tank size, but it's much bigger. And they said that people, they've sold out of these everywhere, basically. Every time they buy in a new batch, it sells out immediately. Yeah. But the one thing that people say is, can we get a bigger one? Everybody wants a bigger, obviously, bigger tank, right? And so they've done it, and they put it together. And they're aiming, I don't know if this is right, I don't think I'm allowed to say this, but they're aiming for a price of 299 quid. Sorry.
Brian's going,
you've got to stick to that now. Yeah. But if they could, I asked how much it was going to be, and they said 300 quid or 299. 299 is cheap for that. That's a decent sized tank.
Let's hope it is that price.
It might go up. I don't know, but that's what they're aiming for anyway.
Please put your what are they called? Like is it caveat? Oh no, there are no facts here.
Yeah, no facts here. Yeah, absolutely. But that if they can do that, it's basically anyway. Whatever happens, it's coming. End of the year with a bit like September, we'll see.
I wanted to mention this earlier. I actually wrote it down while you were talking, and I forgot to mention it. They're very clever, TMC, because the hobby is going in a different direction at the moment. It's not. Yeah. It's either stagnating or it's slightly shrinking, but it's not growing. Yeah. So this is what was great about these events, because like both of them, because you get to talk to people about like how things are happening and why they're happening and things like that. Charterhouse were really interesting because they have like the view of everything, if you see what I mean. People aren't buying 6-foot tanks anymore. We're selling just as many tanks, but they're all small ones. So
they talked about the tank I have, the S850, Red Sea
Yeah.
S850. I think they said they've sold 2 in the last, well, I can't remember how many
month, I
it
think,
was.
it was either month or week. It said.
Oh, I thought it was a year. No, they're not selling 2 of them a week.
No,
Basically, they were saying that they weren't selling many, but this is one of the things. They were really open as well, and just like they would tell us anything, and it wasn't just because we were having this little secret meeting. We're in the middle of the hall, So that's one of the reasons that, for a start, the guy's Ryan. He's really interesting. He's a really nice guy, very likable. But we're going to get him on because I think because they've got that insight that we don't have, that most hobbyists don't get. They'll have some really interesting stuff, and you can ask them anything when the time comes. Ask him anything, and he'll answer it. So.
Going back, I got distracted. So TMC have looked at, as I said, the hobby, and they're going, right, is this sustainable? Like, what direction is this going in? We need to bring new people in. That to get new people in, the price has to be right. The tanks have to be small. They have to be easy. The instructions with them have to be basic, like for a beginner. That was one side of the hobby that they looked at, and that's why they bought these tanks out, because the people that, if you don't keep getting new people in, eventually it shrinks. So and you get new people in with small tanks. The other side of the hobby they're looking after, which I'm assuming is going to come in the news in a second, is with regards to the shops. Is that coming up?
No.
No, I thought you put in the news.
Reef Dork, prestige generated news. What's this?
This is where they are.
Oh yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
I was gonna say. So the other side that they've looked at is that you need new hobbyists, and you need to look after the shops. If there's no shops, there's no people selling fish, and then there's no hobbyists. So they have basically gone, right, we're going to try to help the shops which don't sell online, where you can now buy their products through them. And then what they'll do is they will send those products to the shops for you to go to collect. And the reason they do that, rather than send it to you, is because if you buy a pump from them and they send it directly to you, you don't go back into a fish shop. Which means you don't look at the fish, you don't look at the corals, you don't grab other products, which means you're essentially taking a sale from the shop. Whereas if you're in there, the chances are you'll buy a few things potentially. I think there are some things where some people will still go, oh, I'll just buy this from Charterhouse and I'll get it sent to my house. Whereas if it's something like a spare part where you can't get it from Charterhouse, it definitely will work, because there's plenty of like little things and things like that absolutely will work. But what Brian said is that some of the fish shops that are already, this is already available. People can do this now. They're saying, oh, I've seen customers that I've not seen for ages have come in to get it. So it is working for some of these shops that they're working with. That's
a clever idea. And this is the sort of thing that it's all well and good. One thing, identifying a problem is easy, but figuring out a way to fix it is a lot more difficult. But that's a good idea.
You see how they're not, I know they are looking after themselves in the long run, if you see what I mean.
But it's not for their own benefit. They don't get anything from this.
We need to stabilize this entire industry. We don't need to stabilize ourselves, if you see what I mean.
A lot of what TMC does is trying to, and obviously if there are more fish keepers, then it's good for them. But what they try to do is they try to keep the hobby moving. And actually, if it weren't for them doing these sorts of things, the hobby would struggle more. They're actually quite important. And because they're behind the scenes, you don't see them, you don't notice, but actually quite important in the UK.
It's interesting. I just realized something else, because they're also trying to stabilize the hobby as a whole in terms of like fish collection, like where it's better to get fish from source, or if you're getting fish from the source rather than if fish are going to be bred in captivity, if they're going to be tank bred, they should be bred at source rather than a big company in Europe or in America or something. Because if they don't have that income, the local people don't have that income, they will like to put, and they have no incentive.
They'll do something else.
They'll do something else. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. So it's really interesting, because business is usually thought of in a one way, where you're like, right, how can I maximize how much money I can make, or how can I get?
We're spending a lot of money on importing corals on a plane. How can I stop that? Why don't I make them here?
Yes. Whereas they're going, right, well, how can we protect this industry for the next 10, 20, 30 years? And so the people that are buying fish tanks now, the small ones, if they're successful, in 10 years time, hopefully they'll still be there. And to some extent, people like yourself, less people like me, but like where you're putting out content which is educational, like on how to set up tanks. I don't really do those sorts of things anymore, do I? I definitely do have older videos, and I definitely couldn't go. People like us are great. Have you know what I'm saying? Like people that educate people on how to start their tank in a really easy way, like with bite-sized chunks, are helping people and make a difference. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah.
I want to do more of the. I've moved away a lot. I moved away massively from beginner stuff, and I want to do more of that kind of stuff actually on the channel. That's one of the reasons I want to do that TMC tank, is because I think it'll be good for we'll get beginners in. So
you'll get more views as well. So there's an incentive to do it, because the beginners are the ones that are most interested.
Yeah.
After people have been in it for 6 months, they're like, we don't need these two losers anymore.
Exactly right. Anything else you wanted to talk about on that subject?
Nope, I think we've covered that.
Okay, so there's a couple other things. One of them, I just thought this was so cool. It's hard to see the scale of these in the photo, but there's so chillers are popular in some countries.
Why do you think this is really cool? I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. But they're quite big, and they're for big tanks generally.
Yeah.
But TMC have made these tiny little mini chillers. They're I don't know, they're less than a foot tall.
Yeah.
And they look cool as well.
Well, you can see how big they are. They're about the size of a piece of paper. So if you
sheet of A4 paper, yeah. So they are 4. There's 2 of them. They're not available yet. They're still working on them. I've been working on them for a while, and this was where the Reefactory stuff came in. They've been working on these for 3 years, and not only are they not in the shops, I've never even heard of them.
Yeah.
And that's how long products take to develop. And they said, like, the first one I had problems with, the second one was better, this one's even better, but it's still not ready. So but anyway, they were designed for jellyfish tanks, because jellyfish like proper stability. They love stable temperatures apparently. But the bigger of the 2 would work up to, I think it was up to 60 liters, so 15 gallons. And there are plenty of nano tanks that would benefit from a chiller, I bet. It's niche. I just thought it was cool, but Ryan's laughing at me.
No, the reason I was laughing is because you're like, oh yeah, there's 3 is in production, it's not ready yet, and I just thought he's about to say a price.
No, I'm not going to say a price. I don't think
we don't know the price, but it was just a joke in my head. You said, oh yeah, £200.
I didn't ask with any of this. I didn't ask if I could say it or not. I can't remember. Maybe I did. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, look, if they're talking to us, it's dangerous to give us
exactly. If you don't want me to say anything, then you need to tell me. I'm going to do a very quick impromptu giveaway, by the way.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and this is for UK only, and I'll tell you in a second what you need to do to qualify. You can, but you won't want it.
Okay.
And you'll have to type faster than everybody else. So we got given, there was a little goodie bag, and we got given little pots of all for Reef. Okay, and so I don't use all for Reef. I have no need for it. This will make 750 milliliters. So if you want it, I will post it to you, and I'll pay the postage. So it's literally free. So if you use all for Reef, get ready to type, and it's only for people in the chat watching live.
If you use all for Reef, if you don't use all for Reef, if you want to try it, those are the people that should be.
Yeah, well,
just be fast.
Yeah, just be fast. And Ryan, you've got to have to get this. You've got to have. It'll be the first person to type it. What word do they have to type?
Boxfish.
Boxfish. Go.
There you go. First thing that came to my head.
There you go. It's not the most exciting giveaway in the world, to be honest. It's worth about 20 quid, but still.
Is that what it's worth? I didn't know that.
Something like that, yeah. Anyway, Boxfish. Reefy Reese's. Oh no, Charles Bettany. Charles Bettany wins. Hang on.
It looked like someone else came up first, didn't it? But
yeah. So Reese was second, Roy's Reef was third, and but yeah, you don't get prizes for second or third, unfortunately. So, but there you go, Reefy Reese. Sorry, Charles Bettany. Do me a favor, send me an email, thereefdork@hotmail.com, and give me your address, and I'll post it to you tomorrow.
He's a good man, Charles. He's the one who sorted the towels for me.
I think I've met him at Aqua, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, next, the final piece of news. This was another thing that came from our visit, was Tropic Marine, their talk that Ryan fell asleep during.
Whoa. Don't say that. I have we both know I have a very, very short attention span. You can see that during the news. So if it was a talk about like Jamie Craig's talk, by all means, I was right up there. But I talk about anything other than livestock, me.
There's been some controversy So
Okay.
Dan's Reef says that that Reefy Reese was first on his chat, and I've just looked at the live stream. This is weird. Now I'm watching myself watching the live
does come
stream while doing the live stream, and actually, you're right. Reefy Reese was first. It's just on the software, our software that we use to make these live.
Don't worry, Charles. I've got one too. You can have my one.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Brilliant.
Send me
Thank
your
you.
address and I'll send it to you.
In which case, so Charles and Reese, email me your address, and I'll pass one on to Ryan, and we'll sort it. But yes, if you both email me,
Charles messaging me during the live stream. I've probably got a message from him already. most weeks he messages me during the live stream. So,
the Reef Dork at hotmail.com, Reese and Charles. Then we'll send it to
Licia. Okay,
fine.
Licia can
Anyway, the last thing was this was from the talk. So Marcus Wengler did the talk on ICP tests and the limitations of ICPs. And one of the things they found when they were looking into ICP, because we got a free ICP test from Tropic Marine. Oh, that's the thing. Tropic Marine have started doing ICP tests.
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking because I was the ICP test. I was getting confused with the Love to Reef one. Because I was like, that wasn't the Tropic Marine one, the one that's on the side.
That was ATI. At the end of the day at the TMC thing, they gave us a little goodie bag with like mugs and towels and that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah. That's what this is. See?
And all for Reef.
Representing.
Yeah. Exactly. And one of the things they gave us was an ICP test with Tropic Marine, because they've started doing Tropic Marine have started doing ICP tests, which they didn't do before. I'm not going to make a video on it. I've sent mine off already, so I'll get the results back. Yeah. It's probably going to be much like all the others, but it's another option. Someone asked about. They said, "Well, what Reef's Elements is known in the UK for being basically next day turnaround. They're rapid." And someone was like, "They're same day. Can you match that? Or how long does it take, or whatever?" And the guy was like, "Well, look, my impression was like it'd be a week from the day you send it, roughly. It was 2 to 4 days turnaround or something." But he was like, "Look, we're not bothered about getting out really quickly. We'd rather get it done properly." So that's not to say that if you do it in 24 hours it's not done properly, but that was the point they were making anyway. So that for first thing is Tropic Marine now do ICP tests, so you'll be able to use them if you want to, and they're a good company. But one of the things they discovered, or they said that they discovered in their research for this, was that there are families of trace elements, which I don't think is new. That's kind of a known thing, and they grouped up, and what they reckon was at the moment they have 36 bottles, I think it was 36 bottles of trace elements, and people don't want to have to go adding 36 bottles of trace elements. You've got your A- and K+ 2 bottles of Tropic Marine trace elements, and you dose those permanently, but that doesn't mean that everything will be the same, and some gets depleted in funny rates or whatever. But instead of if you get an ICP test back and it says your vanadium's low, you don't want to have to go buy 36 bottles and dose 0.5 milliliter of all of this. So they've grouped them all together, and they found the families that can go in the same bottle basically. And they said that the chances are if one of the metals in this group is low, they're all low. And so they're now, instead of 36 bottles, there are 5 bottles. Actually, I think you can still buy the individual bottles if you want. And the idea is that and I'll read off this, the 3 here. So these are the 5 bottles, by the way. So this is just a photo I took. And so the idea is that if your iodine is low, then your fluorine, bromine, and selenium will be low as well. And I did ask that, and he said, I think that's basically, well, that's my understanding anyway. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I'd have to look at my ICP tests and see if there must be. I don't know if they're all low, but anyway, whatever. The idea is that if one of them's low, they reckon that all of these group will be low, and then you can just put these 5 bottles on a doser, and it will dose them automatically, or you can tell it how much to dose, whatever. I don't know the science behind it. I'm just saying there's another option. So TMC, Tropic Marine, are bringing out a 5 bottle. They've grouped together trace elements into 5 bottles in families, and that is a new thing that you can buy. Are you going to be rushing out buying that immediately, Ryan?
No, I've been doing the same thing for 17 years, so it's true. Every so often I'll do an ICP and I might adjust something, but I have trace elements in obviously the stuff I use already. But look, there'll be some people that will want it, and let's put it this way: if you are the person who's dosing loads and loads of things, to condense them down to 5 bottles, by all means, like that, people will love that, because the less bottles, the better.
Yeah, and the reason I was kind of, I don't know, is so Successful Research, which is Sean Russell, Aquaman, says, "I'd like to see the evidence that." I don't know. It didn't sound spot on to me, but they're clever guys. I don't know. Is it right or not?
People think about All for Reef, don't they?
Yeah, it's
They
true.
think
All
that
the
it
reef
contains
works.
everything. So,
Yeah,
and a lot of people
it
have
does.
success with it. So
Yeah, but
it's basically
whatever.
the same concept.
But yeah, this is not about that. This is just, there you go. It exists.
Yeah.
And that concludes the news. Which means we've reached the end of the show. 10 minutes left. Interesting. Ryan, is there anything else that you would like to talk about tonight?
Nope, we pretty much covered everything that I. We've covered everything I wanted to say.
Good stuff. Well, we've got in June, we've got 2 guests. I think I'm gonna email Charthouse, but I don't want to have guest.
Yeah.
So I might push them back.
You get jealous, don't you, if you got to share me with someone else?
Exactly. So that might be July or August or something, and they'll be busy. So we'll find time, but we'll have them at some point as well. And someone asked about guests. I can't remember someone who was
Jamie said, he went, you should get more guests on. I went, who would you like to get on? And you went, I don't know. Guests. Yes. It's funny because people do say that, and you go, well, who would you like on? And no one can ever give you they want you to find the guests.
But sometimes people do have suggestions, but we'll at some point we'll get Parker's Reef on, but that'll be that might take a bit of time, because there'll be a time when you and it will benefit us to do it on a Saturday, and we can do it on a Saturday morning. So then it's like 9 o'clock in the evening for him. Otherwise it's ridiculous. So at some point we'll do that, but the stars are going to have to align. So that might take a bit of time. But I'm always up for the idea of getting guests. I like it. It's 90% will be you and me.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
It's a different dynamic. I talk too much, and I talk over people too much, and you're used to it, and you don't find it offensive anymore. Whereas the guest might find it offensive. And
East Coast Reefer says it's hard finding guests each week, and that's the other thing. When I've seen Reef Bum doing it in the past, literally every week for years as well, he did it. He had a new guest, and he every now and then he'd say that he had people scheduled in like weeks in advance. That feels like a lot of admin work, and people will be like, "Oh no, I can't make this, and I need to switch around." So I don't know. If
I imagine when Jamie Craggs comes on, we'll just be like,
exactly.
And when and I think Ryan from Charthouse will give me a run for my money with regards to
he's a talker
who can fit more words into the live stream.
Right? We won't get a word in edgeways with So, but he's very interesting. He'll be good. He's a good laugh. He'll be good. I think it sounds like having a shop that just sells dry goods online doesn't sound the sexiest subject in the world.
It was. I know exactly. I would go, tell me how you started. Tell me all the difficult things you went into, and all it was really interesting when we spoke to them, because you're right. You would think it wouldn't be interesting, but it gives you an insight. It's much harder. And there's a lot more going on than you think.
So much more, so many moving parts. It's really interesting, actually. I think it sounds dry on the face of it, but it'll be a really good one. But, anyway, right, that's it. Thanks for joining, guys. It's been